Wait, sorry. It's been a while. I kind of fell asleep on the road to sacrifice. Clearly,
I
the
know it's
best
the weekend,
place.
but you got shit to do.
Come on, wake up.
Clearly, the best place to fall asleep into. But yeah, it's been a bit. So let's resume our trekking to the road to sacrifices. There are two places, two different directions to where to go in this place, but I'm gonna take one specifically for now, because the other might be slightly too difficult for the time being. So, technically speaking, if you're skilled enough, you can, potentially go through either of them in the order you prefer, but, one of them is technically a bit more manageable than the other. First of all, I need to survive these dudes with the poles. Ow. Go. Let's just try to run through him, might as well. Alright, otherwise it's basically the same as I showcased in the previous part. There are the giant enemy crabs in the lake. No, we're not dealing with them right now. The guys with the pole, the mushrooms from Dark Souls 2 that return, but thankfully do not have the equipment corroding gas, thank God, you know. And there are some couple of enemies that we'll see later, but otherwise, thankfully this is not yet the poisonous ones that Miyazaki loves oh so much. Let me see if I can showcase before we start talking another of the new enemy types because it's present here. There we go.
What's Robert doing here?
I also changed a bit my drip, you may notice, like the helmet, just to have a bit more balance because I was clearly too heavy previously. Alright, let's see. Let's see these two. Basically, if I actually don't go through here and I went through another direction, these two would ambush me if I wanted to get the treasure that I'm about to get down below. There you go. An Estus shard, which again will grant me one more Estus flask. And I think right besides this bonfire, there's this guy. A guy with a giant cross stapled onto his back. And it has red eyes, meaning that I should be warned that this guy deals a lot of damage. But thankfully, there you go, I can inflict bleeding with my trusty katana, so nothing personal. And an ember tooth. Alright, well, we continue. Dibs, did you want to see anything interesting in cinema today? Well, recently.
Alright, I did see Borderlands in cinemas.
My condolences.
Well, I mean, I chose to do it, to be fair, so thank you anyway. It was shit.
Remind me again, because
Mostly because it was really, really boring.
I think I asked you already off commentary, but just for the audience's sake, how much experience do you have in knowing the game? Not necessarily having played it, but like knowing about the story.
I know about some of the box art.
Okay, yeah, like I said in the past, but one of Borderlands' strong suit is the art style, trying to, go for a cel-shaded comic book vibe, which is sadly just one of the few things that they are going for, because the music tries to be a bit, spaghetti western, because it's supposed to be like a space spaghetti western, sorta, and the voice actors are usually fine. But everything else, no, it's garbage. The writing especially, and the humor. Good lord, you.
There is humor.
Well, in the games, I dread to think how it is in the movie. Like,
it's not funny.
Dare I ask, how was Jack Black as Claptrap?
It's Jack Black if he had no charm, so he's really annoying.
How do you manage that?
Well, recently Jack Black is not exactly in top form, so yeah, I can see why the would be happening. Especially, and there's also the unfortunate stuff involved. In case for those who don't know, Claptrap had, I don't remember his name. You can look it up in the meantime on IMDb lives. Claptrap had a very solid voice actor for the first couple of Borderlands games that really gave an identity to the character. And trust me, when not written by the actual Gearbox writers, Claptrap is actually very funny, like in some crossover he participated in. But then it got revealed that this voice actor was actually assaulted multiple times by company CEO Randy Pitchford, including one case in an elevator. Yeah,
Oh.
it's just awful. Like the more
Is that what's come out recently?
no, it's been a while actually knowing about
Okay.
stuff. Again, as a general rule of thought, Gearbox started out as a company that was relatively promising. They did two semi-decent, not particularly static, but fairly solid, expansions for the first Half-Life. So they worked with Valve. The owner, the aforementioned Randy Pitchford, was a fan of Gabe Newell and wanted to contribute. But almost everything else that they did after was just awful, and the behavior of the company, plummeted with each year passing by. They did Aliens Colonial Marines, which was, basically blatantly unfinished, and got into trouble with Sega with a lawsuit that somehow Gearbox won, and not Sega, despite clearly showcasing that it was Gearbox the ones that, that fucked up. Then they did Duke Nukem Forever, which basically killed the Duke Nukem franchise, at least for the time being. I don't even think it's possible to salvage it at this point, The Borderlands game continued to suck in quality in terms of writing. One of the writers, Anthony Birch, managed to, make such a mockery of himself that coined the phrase, "My life may suck, but at least I'm not NDP. Sorry, but at least I'm not Anthony Birch." Just to give an idea. And recently also they did Homeward 3, which also apparently has a good chance of killing that franchise too, because of the terrible writing. Worth noting is that one of the few very good characters of the franchise, the character of Ensign Jack, the villain of the second game, which managed to be charismatic enough for the fans, managed to be so because apparently his voice actor deliberately decided to ignore the script and improvise on the spot, which made his performance much better. Like, almost every wrong turn that the company could take has been taken, and again, these days they're not really regarded in a good light. So the movie already had very shaky grounds to start with, but apparently it's not even good even taking that aside.
Nah, it's just really boring. It basically does the it does basically almost every single cliched adventure film trope you can think of. The main character is actually really special.
Of course. They also artificially aged almost all of the characters, particularly the woman in the cast. Well, apparently it's because, here's another one for you, Shiro, just to, get more iffy stuff in the pile. Origin for a good chunk of the development, and it's still credited if I recall correctly. But the movie was mostly the crab. The movie was mostly handled by Eli Roth. So, not exactly the best person to actually doing it. For those who don't know...
I mean, as good as the Bear Jew in Inglourious Bastards, but as a director, this is the first one I've seen.
Fuck me. He was a pupil of Quentin Tarantino. Quentin Tarantino pushed him to try to, he did the Hostel movies, which are terrible. He did the Cabin Fever movies, which are also terrible. And basically it's been reported that almost all of his scripts are homophobic as fuck. So, just to have one. People speculated, why he even attached himself to Borderlands. Red Letter Media speculated that the only reason he did it was to be basically doing what James Gunn did with the Guardians of the Galaxy, basically detaching himself from his past work and trying to have a more, friendly, renewed image that he could use to launch himself, in the movie industry. But at least that's a speculation, because otherwise people have no goddamn idea why would he do it, especially because apparently he doesn't have that much of, experience with the games, apparently, and reportedly that's one of the circling back to what I was saying, that's supposedly the reason why most of the cast, including mostly the female characters, are, aged up compared to their gaming counterpart, mostly because, Eli Roth prefers working with older actresses, which, to be fair, again, it's a choice. It's just that it doesn't make for a, really great adaptation. And sure, you can make an argument that, since the games relatively suck so much, it shouldn't even matter, but I don't know, I think balance driving, I suppose. go. So bottom line, the movie sucks. Me, Deji, and Pedro are planning to see it as soon as it reaches internet, which shouldn't take long now. You know, and I'm already having the alcohol ready in case. So that's gonna be fun. Other than that, what have you seen, Lives?
Well, on literally the same day, like half an hour after the film finished, I also saw Trap,
The
new
recent
M. Night
test.
Shyamalan movie.
There I asked how it was.
It was more fun than Borderlands.
Okay, that I can imagine because you know, M. Night Shyamalan movies. Okay, aside from old, for reasons that I perfectly understand, Lives, but most of M. Night Shyamalan movies are even fun to make fun of at the worst. So there is that.
So yeah, basically, Trap. In case you're wondering, no, there isn't a twist. The serial killer is the same guy we saw in the trailer, so it's not like, oh, the serial killer is actually his daughter or something.
Or the devil, you know. Don't forget that happened too.
Again, I haven't seen Devil.
You haven't seen Devil yet. I thought you were in the original commentary.
And if I have, it's been a while.
Yeah, it has been. It has been a while. It needs generations, admittedly. But I'll let you check. Go on.
I also recently saw. I've been watching the older Godzilla movies as well recently.
We're planning to do one for Halloween, just for funsies.
Yeah, I started off obviously with the original 1954 movie since I bought the Godzilla Heisei. Is it Heisei collection?
Yeah.
On Blu-ray. But I thought it was really fun. Obviously, it's going to be a bit dated, but I felt the drama itself did a good job holding the movie together. Then I saw the.
Sorry, go on.
I saw the fuck yeah. Then I saw the Americanized version of the movie, Godzilla King of the Monsters, and it's one of the better actual efforts I've seen put into an Americanized version of something. In that they actually bothered to try and integrate the new American character who's played by Raymond Burr and into the movie. Basically, what they did was they had body doubles as well as Japanese American actors, so it could look like he was actually in the original movie.
Yeah. For the record, for those who haven't seen the movie or may not have enough memory, American characters are present in the movie, but it's basically for background purposes. In a sense, at one point, the Japanese government, you know, has to demonstrate the alert of the situation, and thus they have a bunch of, you know, I think ambassadors from America showing up on a meeting, but they don't even talk, if I remember correctly.
I'll get to American characters in a minute. Then I saw the sequel to the original movie. I mean, Godzilla Raids Again. It was a movie. Honestly, that movie honestly didn't really leave that much of an impression on me. To be honest, it's just it's not a very exciting story. All the story is just basically two people trapped on an island, and Godzilla's there, and he's fighting something else.
Oh, trust me, Dwibs, you haven't seen yet the worst Godzilla movies. Wait until you get to Minilla.
We'll get there eventually. Then I saw recently King Kong versus Godzilla, the original Japanese version. Now, it is included as a bonus feature on the Blu-ray because Toho didn't really look after the film very well. So what they did was they had to, the Criterion people had to patch the movie together as best they could, but there are some noticeably lower quality scenes in the movie.
It was unfortunate.
It's a bit blurry.
Preservation back then was not, you know, as done as now, unfortunately.
And that was the. I think I've reached the point of era. I think I've reached the era in which the Godzilla movies really weren't taking themselves all that seriously.
No,
they were trying to be more lighthearted
and comedic, yes.
Yeah, I thought it worked out fine.
Again, the satirical aspect, you know, of basically Japan taking a bit of a fun of, trying to lightheartedly taking fun of, regular disasters that happen unfortunately on their shoreline on a Tuesday basis, it's still kind of there, Godzilla is still a form of destruction and everything. It's just that they try to lean in more onto, having fun because they discover, oh shit, giant monsters destroying the city and potentially fighting each other. That's kind of fun for potential for movie making, especially because those were the same decades where Ray Harryhausen was perfecting his stop motion special effects. So there's that. Anyway,
although since I was talking about American characters earlier, the movie has a couple of scenes focusing on an American submarine, and the way the American actors were directed was
questionable.
Weird. They were talking with these really weird inflections. I can only assume Ishiro Honda didn't really speak very good English and tried to direct them anyway, and that's the result we got.
Anyway, we're close to the boss, and I managed to find an NPC for summoning, Eygon of Carym. If you forgot, the guy with the giant mace that was guarding the maiden, before the road to sacrifices. So it's gonna tend to help us against this boss, this wizard motherfucker, the Crystal Sage. He loves casting spells.
Fireball.
And I plan on watching the Americanized version of the movie.
As the name implies, Shiro, all his stuff is crystal, which, as we noticed from the first Dark Souls, it seems to be a common thing for sorcery. But to be fair, he seems to be relatively squishy for now, but, I wonder if there is more to him than meets the eye.
Just like a wizard, then.
He loves to teleport, and also raise crystals here and there. Basically, his tactic, as you will see soon enough, okay, no, because he hasn't reached 50% yet.
I love the comically sized hat.
Yes, that's actually more important here, because, it's similar to Big Hat Logan, an NPC, again, it's been a while, I don't blame you, that we did rescue in Dark Souls 1, and, passed on sorcery about the crystals. So yes, having a big hat, it is comical, it is consistent with these wizards, so there is that.
Comically sized bows and hats are a part of peak characters.
There you go, that's his strategy now, cloning himself. How do you recognize the original? It's the one that shoots purple stuff instead of blue, so that's fairly easy. But it's basically a representation of the get back here type of boss, the one that, the one that constantly teleports around and around, there you go, and you have to catch up constantly to him. Oh, what fun. Anyway, also Dwibs, just to mention, because you might notice, the outcome of the Godzilla vs. Kong, classic movie, depends on which version you... Fuck me. Oh my god. Give me a second. Oh my god, he killed me. I can't believe this. Can't believe you've done this. Well, okay, I'll just give it another try. I guess I got too greedy. Because if I remember correctly, in the original cut, in both cuts they basically end up in a tie. Kind of like, your typical, crossover where the two beasts eventually still have to work together, eventually maybe in the future, but... if I recall correctly, in the Japanese cut, they make it more bias that it's implied that Godzilla has won, while in the American cut, they imply that instead Kong has won. So basically, there's a bit of, respective bias, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, well, I can understand that. Although I have watched a review of the American version of Godzilla vs. Kong. Apparently that movie is great for people that love maps. I'm pointing at them specifically.
Oh, so not me.
That's probably gonna be a movie you're not gonna be fond of, Shiri. But again, I'll have to watch that cut for myself to see, because the films that the box set I've got only goes up to the mid-70s, so there's no Godzilla 1985 or Final Wars.
Honestly, one you can watch recently because it doesn't have any continuity attachment to it, and it should be easy to come by with. Watch Shin Godzilla instead. It has been released recently. It's basically a reimagining of the first movie.
I got it on Xbox.
And it's done by Hideaki Anno, the creator of Evangelion. So you can imagine the political commentary is actually much. It's actually more thick. Of course, it's also more gruesome, potentially. Godzilla's entire thing is played up like body horror, not even kidding. But yeah, there's also the fact that since the original movie was done as a, not critique, but a message about, nuclear weapons and the danger that they can cause, Shin Godzilla was actually made instead to criticize the Japanese government in action during the Fukushima accident instead. And this is reflected in the movie because the government is made by a bunch of, bumbling idiots, who don't know who are too obsessed into organize the meetings rather than, actually finding a solution to the problem. And there's instead one guy that has to save basically the day with a improvised weapon. Again, it's very typical if you have seen anything from Hideaki Anno. Yes, Liz?
And also, speaking of Godzilla, although I stress that very loosely, I also recently watched with Pedro, Deji, and I think Teo,
yes,
the 1998 Godzilla.
The Roland Emmerich version, which I can tell you, Shiro, it's not friendly at all to you, because it's mostly, a lot of it is set during the night and there's flashing all over the place.
It was made to spite me specifically.
If you're really that curious, maybe give it a try if you can, but that's my word of encouragement.
Yes,
that it's not really worth it.
I mean,
yes.
audio description exists, so...
Yes, Shiro, they made it to spite you when you were 5 years old.
Yep.
Honestly... There's also, again, there's also the fact that Roland Emmerich in places seems that he wanted to homage the original movie, the original, mythos, because the movie almost starts like with the same thought process, a lone Japanese fishing boat, being attacked by Godzilla, in the middle of the sea. So you can tell that someone at some point somewhere did watch the movies or did some research. But otherwise, the movie is basically garbage that really has no place, and rightfully was so mocked. Apparently, from what I've been told, Deji as a friend that told us that, the animated series that did follow it, because Universal wanted to make it a movie trilogy, but because the movie was critically panned, they reconverted it, the sequels into an animated series, and apparently it's much better, more akin to traditional kaiju mythos, so at the very least there is that.
And it's also interesting as well because one of the writers of the 1998 film, Terry Rossio, whose original script with Ted Elliott got basically converted into the movie we got, he did return to the Godzilla series in 2021 with co-writing the story for Godzilla vs. Kong, and more recently co-writing the newer film, Godzilla x Kong: The New Empire.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, at least he got to make up for it.
Mm-hmm. No, honestly, it's pretty evident that most of the faults of the 1998 movie were squarely mostly on Roland Emmerich's decision, because he didn't...
Devlin.
Yeah, that too. Fair enough. But, Roland Emmerich did admit that he did not, particularly care about the original, movies. And also, get this, Shiro. Eygon, move your ass.
Mm-hmm.
But get this, Shiro. At one of the big plot points in the 1988 movies that Godzilla is, if I recall correctly, it's basically able to reproduce asexually, just laying eggs. So it doesn't have a set gender, mostly because a lot of reptile species can apply to that. So they said, nuclear mutation allowed that. But the thing is that in some of the original drafts and some artwork did got preserved, they wanted to sexualize Godzilla, giving it, boob lineup, basically.
Want to get the money from the monster fuckers.
weirdly enough, I cannot imagine how, but the people, the people in Japan, when seeing the concept, rightfully so, were flabbergasted and told them to do it again. And the end result, oh fucking grab it. The end result that we got is a design that is different, but I think it's one of the least problems of the entire movie, if I have to be honest.
It doesn't surprise me considering a lot of the people who play these games are monster fuckers, so you know.
Yeah, there's also Matthew Broderick playing Nectotopoulos.
Oh, and the main female character is actually very poorly characterized, even more so than your typical Roland Emmerich production. Basically, the movie makes her commit a lot of, actions to take advantage of the situation, and then tries to paint her like she's actually instead the victim. So it doesn't actually give her a favorable look.
Yeah. Also, okay, there are a couple of things I did enjoy about the '98 film, to an extent. I did like David Arnold's music, because he was a regular of Emmerich's at the time. This was the last movie in which he did the music for one of his films. There is there is a bit of a campy charm in it. And also, it is kind of funny how it's like Emmerich is like the reverse Michael Bay. You know how Michael Bay likes to glorify the US military? Mm-hmm. Well, Roland Emmerich, being German and with no real obvious obligation to do so, decided to portray the American military in Godzilla as incredibly incompetent. They're in a
Gone.
The US Air Force tried to fire on Godzilla running through New York City, but they cause more damage to the city than Godzilla does.
Which is also interesting considering, this was not too long after Independence Day, in which, yes, the US military did receive, setbacks, but otherwise managed to, be showcased to be the one that saves the day. So I wonder what kind of choice was made to do so. It is true that even in the classic movies, the Japanese military initially is very ineffective against Godzilla, but they're not incompetent and they do not cause collateral damage on a Man of Steel level. So I wonder what happened. Like, okay, it was 1998, so it's possible. What administration was there? Bush Senior? I don't remember.
Clinton.
Like, is it possible the Roman Emmerich was trying to take the piece out of that? I don't know.
Yeah, and also the best character in the movie is the one played by Jean Reno.
Yeah, the French guy.
Yeah, because in the universe of the 1998 movie, they don't go for the whole Japan and American nuclear war symbolism. They instead make it so that it was because they instead make it that the reason that the Godzilla we got in the movie mutated, it was all because of the French.
Yeah, apparently their nuclear test in some particular archipelagos. Admittedly, the original 54 movie, the Japanese 54 movie, doesn't really put in the blame on anyone any nation in particular. Sure, it might still be implied that it's the Americans with their nuclear test, especially because, developing the nuclear bomb and everything. But there is no, as far as I remember, there is no particular scene in which someone points a finger and says, damn, it's all their fault and we have to fix this shit. So no, the movie could have easily taken a pot shots, in the United States, but they actually refrained to do it. Alright. Also, if you paid attention to the footage, for the previous attempt at the boss fight, Eygon of Carym did not move from his spot and decide to stay here for some reason. So hopefully this time he will actually move his ass.
He got stuck?
I guess, but it felt very odd, like NPCs when you summon do not have like a scripted pathfinding. They just move regularly like you're supposed to do. AI controlled, yes, but otherwise they behave just as any player character would. So I don't know. Ow. I mean, they just bait him here.
I also recently saw Alien Romulus.
Romulus. Yeah, so the mid-quel, like, it's basically Alien 1.5.
Yeah, and I enjoyed it. So it turns out the secret to making a good Alien movie since the second one was to get a pair of Uruguayans to make the movie.
And also to not overcomplicate the lore and just make a self-contained story.
Yeah,
Kinda like what happened with Prey.
Yeah, it's directed by Fede Alvarez, who is mostly known for making the remake of The Evil Dead.
Oh, the recent one, because I can tell you
The one from a few years ago.
Yeah, I wasn't particularly a fan of that, but I can tell that from what I heard, at least Romulus seems to be a better attempt at, continuing a franchise. Alright,
Yeah,
let's see if Eygon moves this time around. Okay. Okay, now it's following me. Good. There you go. Because it's the 1.5 movie it waves, I guess it doesn't really end with a teaser or sequel hook.
Not really.
They don't have like surprise Ripley cameo for no real adequate reason.
No. It's I mean there is potential for a sequel to it, but it doesn't do surprise Ellen Ripley cameos. The score is also. I also really enjoyed the music score as well. I think it was more. Apparently, there is a lot of influence from the first couple of movies and Prometheus, but I reckon it came off to be more of a. The composer was doing a Jerry Goldsmith impression. Yeah, the guy who did the music for the first film.
That's fair enough. There you go. Honestly, it's always fascinating to me instead the development cycle that Alien 3 actually got, because Fox, completely mismanaged that movie so hard, and even at the very end when David Fincher got tossed the hot potato, he barely knew what to do with it. But it's interesting that in recent times they managed to squeeze something out of it, because. Oh my god! Died again! Why was this close? I can't believe it. Usually normally more, good enough in playing against the Crystal Sage. I guess it's because I'm rusty. But basically, Dark Horse, the comic book company that has been doing Alien and Predator comics ever since the 90s, I think, if not even before that, did manage to make an adaptation of one of the unreleased versions of the movie. Okay, to give how much familiar are you with the Alien movies, Shiro? Just to know.
More so with some of the game stuff rather than the actual movies.
I can imagine, because in order to represent the claustrophobia, those movies also operate on with a lot of darkness and occasional flickering lights, all over the place. So I can imagine it might be something. But again, basic gist is that by the end of the second movie, the protagonist, played by Sigourney Weaver, managed to find an escape with the one Marine that survived on the team of that movie. I forgot his name. Do you remember it?
Sorry?
Do you remember what was the name of the Marine that survived the aliens? I forgot his name.
No, I don't know.
Okay. Well, the important thing is that, they had established a bond, and plus also a little girl, Newt, which, because, James Cameron, he treated basically the whole thing as if this orphan, had found a new mother in Ripley, because, cheesiness, classic stuff, blah, blah, blah. So, where to go from there? the original script that was intended for Alien 3, first of all, they got a teaser that was implying that the xenomorph, the aliens were going to arrive on Earth, with the image of them moving into the ground, into a field of corn, stalking a house, which was a concept that M. Night Shyamalan used later for the movie Signs. But that concept never got realized because apparently the people at Fox did not give a shit and did not know how to handle marketing. So the first script was supposed to not have Ripley at all, and even the little girl, just star the Marine, and was supposed to have social commentary about that was a parallel to between the Cold War with two factions that replicated the Soviets and the Americans, because that works so well. Because that works so well in that episode of Star Trek, the original series. If you have seen, if anyone in the audience has seen, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It culminates with William Shatner singing, if I recall correctly, like the American national anthem, and it's the stupidest, cheesiest thing ever.
I was gonna say that sounds stupid.
But okay, so it was rejected mostly because it was not found appealing. If I recall correctly, it was also hinted that the facility's real purpose was to house an laboratory where they were studying xenomorphs, which was a concept that was integrated in the fourth movie, Alien Resurrection. But the movie after, the second attempt at the script was apparently even worse. It was basically supposed to say that everyone, all three inhabitants of the capsule, Ripley, the Marine, and the little girl, had died, and we switched perspective entirely to a very boring, generic, Xbox 360 protagonist kind of Marine. And the climax was supposed to have, if I recall correctly, the xenomorphs merging into one giant big alien. And can you even imagine early to mid-90s CGI technology doing that? Because I don't want to. So thankfully that was also rejected. Then there was a script about, if I recall correctly, a prison planet, which was something that endured until the very end. Eygon, move! Okay. Then a script about monks, in which Ripley was supposed to act kind of like Snow White and them being the Seven Dwarves. Yeah, it was weird as shit too. And if I recall correctly, at that point, the then CEO of 20th Century Fox stumbled in and says, Ripley needs to be in this movie, otherwise we're not doing it. And as such, we got eventually the mess that was Alien 3. Again, it's one of those movies similar to The Island Dr. Moreau, where it's much more interesting development instead of, the actual final product.
Yeah, I mean, the most memorable thing about the movie to me is Paul McGann's character. The serial killer.
Yeah. Because the final product is basically a combination of the monk and the prison script. Ripley actually stumbles into this planned place, a prison colony, and these people, obviously are rapists and killers, but they have to work together if they want to save their bacons from the one xenomorph that is normally stalking them. And the ending is extremely stupid because it involves Ripley doing the heroic sacrifice because, oh no, the evil corporation still wants to do the xenomorph for some reason. And then Alien Resurrection happening, God, the franchise is a mess, even before Prometheus. To the point where other people, wants to pretend that no real movie happened after the second Aliens, which I don't really blame them for, but from what I heard, again, Romulus seems to be enough of a good time.
Yeah, Romulus seems to be a step in the right direction, although bear in mind, I haven't seen either of the AVP movies, or Prometheus, or Alien Covenant.
Like I said, the first AVP movie I think is still solid enough. The second is just straight up garbage. Aside from having a garbage story with very, very inappropriate type of, gore, even for both either franchise standards. The biggest culprit is the lighting. get this, Shiroi. Again, even for me, which apparently I have, between me and Glibs, we tend to have the best eyesight in the entire group. I can tell you that I've seen the movie, and the lighting is piss poor in that movie. Almost everything is in the dark, and a lot of scenes are barely being able to be seen because of that. It's a shame because the practical effect that they had for the Predalien, the new enemy created for the movie, is actually kind of neat. There you go, poor try did it. But it's completely wasted.
If you struggled with it, I'm not seeing anything.
No, don't worry, Sheer, we're sparing you from that.
And well, it's funny as well because the guy who was the cinematographer for the movie, his first work was in the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre film.
But again, instead it's worth noting that the games did continue the story in a much better way. I mentioned Alien Colonial Marines, and despite the gameplay being complete garbage, thanks to Gearbox, you know, the story itself is okay. And I do wonder, how much it's treated as canon. But the big star, of course, is Alien Isolation, the game released by Creative Assembly. Not too long after it. It is genuinely, a good survival horror, and the story is not even that bad, following up, what Ridley's daughter was doing between the events of the movies. So there is that at the very least. Some elements even got imported into the canon, like the working Joe androids. The logic behind it, just for people who don't know, is that androids in the Alien franchise tend to be very, human-like. They're very similar to human. So of course you run potentially into the problem of Blade Runner. That is has been question that has been asking since the dawn of sci-fi, how much of androids, and also Detroit Become Human ask, how much, humanity is potentially an android, if they're indistinguishable from humans, should they have the same right, should we, try at the very least not to be dicks to them, etc., how expendable are they, and so on. So, a company in universe, in Alien Colonial Marines, created a bunch of androids who are clearly defined, more gum plasticky-like, calling them working Joes, with specifically the idea in mind that, with the other androids, you don't know who might be one, and you might, have so many questions. With them, instead, the tagline is, you always know a working Joe. The problem is that, also to create spice in the game, because of this exact reason, the working Joes are prone to be very defect, and as a result, they're one of the, minor inconveniences that you have to deal with over in the Xenomorph. So. And apparently they got basically imported in the rest of the canon, with all other novels and games. So that's pretty neat. Come on. So basically, anyway, we have defeated the Crystal Sage, and now we're actually moving to the final steps that the poor victims of his priestesses had to be taken. Again, we've been seeing the village with indoctrination, we've seen the road to sacrifice, so now we have to see where the poor souls have been taken. Come on, get into the fire! There we go.
Come on, burn already.
Burn to the ground, burn! There we go. Alright, so let's get the item and move on. The Herald set. I might give it a try in between parts. And yeah, another thing that people noticed, in this specific set of areas, we get like 3 bonfires not very distant from one another. I don't know who decided to place them, because sure, there is possible reason to concern between these checkpoints, but not as much as to separate them a lot. Night ahead, therefore no reckless ahead. Should we try? Might as well, we have not had a choice in a long time. Dwibs.
Yeah, go for it.
Shiroi?
Sure.
Alright, let's go. It's a guy that is dual wielding. Oh, great! And he immediately parried me because one of the weapons is a dagger. Let's try to get the fight onto higher ground. It's over, Banana King. I tried a plunge attack, but it did not work, unfortunately. Oh wow, this guy does have a bit of health. But if I understand correctly, I proc the bleed, so there is that. And he also has throwing knives. A true rogue through and through. Alright, let's do the ninja move. Ah, there you go. That was a good duel. So let's see what he was guarding. The Paladin's Ashes. If you forgot, actually let's read the item description, which also reminds me that I need to read the item description of the Soul of a Crystal Sage. One of the twisted souls steeped in strength, used to carve a soul transposed to extract its true strength. The twin crystal sages, one served as spiritual guides to the scholars of the Grand Archives, and one went to ally with the Undead Legion. If you forgot, the Undead Legion is one of the groups that became Lords of Cinder, and as a result, we need to actually, get their asses back to the thrones, whether they like it or not. Alright, so let's see if I recall correctly, it's in the key items. There you go. Umbral Ash of a worn-out paladin who sought the Cathedral of the Deep. With this, the Shrine Handmaid will prepare new items. This paladin paid quite a price for his headstrong justice. So basically, if you forgot, the Firekeeper that is sitting at the Firelink Shrine will accept these ashes and in turn will convert them into a set of new items that are themed after the ashes that we give to her. So in this case, since it's a paladin, it's gonna be a set of, if I recall correctly, a set of clerical items like, say, a weapon armor set, and if I understand correctly, maybe holy themed items. So there is that. Also, another enemy ahead, a guy instead with a bandit set, so let's deal with him too. Ow, ow.
Die.
There's also that if you pay attention, his roaring move is actually the skill that is given from the axe, if I recall correctly, which allows him to. He's surrounded by a red aura, which boosts his attack power. So that's the moment where you need to be where you have to watch out the most. So a good tactic is to tire him out, basically. The spider shield that he's wielding in his left hand is something that was carried over from the first Dark Souls. It's a shield that I don't think we used, but it basically makes you almost completely immune to poison if you manage to parry the attacks, which was particularly useful in Blighttown. There we go. Done it. And we pick up the spider shield. There you go. That's a decent enough trophy. Alright, let's move on. If I recall correctly, we're close to the actual building where they're taking the pilgrimage. Oh, doggy. Oh, hi, doggy.
Yay.
Not so yay.
Yay.
No.
Yeah, come on, let's Shuri have a yay.
But I need to take down these pooches. I'm not sure how much yay there is.
Oh, so you're alright with killing the doggies, but you have a go at me for killing all the complicit scientists.
Actually, it's Jova the one that...
Hypocrisy!
First of all, it's Jova that wants to make it more of a thing, rather than me. Second, it's also the fact that these enemies are aggressive and they don't relent. While instead in Red Faction, being a first-person shooter, you know, it means also that you can potentially outrun them, you know, if you want.
Well, I mean, that's like I'm not going to argue with that. Unlike certain developers, it's like if you're being attacked, you're going to attack back.
Da-da-da-da.
I've already
Oh, I wasn't
said
talking
there.
about that.
Well, applicable,
I
I
already
guess.
said. I think I was just.
Yeah. There you go. You're gonna love Doom 3 Dweebs because that one that one also has the mechanic where you find survivors and you can potentially just shoot them here and there, right there and there, with no hesitation, and the game doesn't really penalize you for it.
I mean, you get penalised in Hitman if you do that.
Oh, that's because the entire mechanic in that game is about assassinating targets and being discreet. So...
Killing random people, not exactly the streets.
Well, it depends on how you do it. I forgot if I asked you. Did you ever try the Christmas themed mission of the reboot, the first reboot game?
The 2016 one.
I think so. Yes. It has.
It's not a reboot. It's not a reboot exactly, but yes.
Because it's basically a reskin of the first mission, which instead ask you to assassin two thieves, which are clearly a parallel to the wet bandits from Home Alone, and occasionally Santa teleports in. And you can kill him by poisoning the pastries. Also, yes, apparently, we're definitely close to the Cathedral of the Deep, in which, the fervor of the occupants means that, they're becoming more and more reckless. So let's open this door. Jesus.
Yes, the Paris level in Hitman, where none of the characters sound French.
Of course.
Yeah, because that was one major issue fans had with the voice acting in the 2016 game.
Mm-hmm.
In that, they got a really top tier voice cast because they were owned by Square at the time.
Yeah.
They got Yuri Lowenthal and all that. But in the levels, there was no sign of any actual accents from the places you were at. So whether you were in Paris, Bangkok, Marrakesh, or Hokkaido, everyone sounded American or British.
With no real inflation.
Oh, no, the acting was fine.
It's just there's no accent, that's what I meant, sorry.
Yeah, no accent. So what Hitman 2 did, again, that was after they split from Square, they lost the big name voice actors. But what they did do instead was that they actually got actual accents in the levels. So people from India actually sounded like they were from India. People from, I think it was Argentina or it was a South American country. They got authentic accents there, and so on.
Mm-hmm.
And to be honest, I actually prefer the voice acting for the guards, the American ones, in 2 and 3 because they sound a lot more urgent when certain situations happen. So, like, if they encounter a sea of dead bodies, the ones in the first game just kind of sound like they're going through the motions. They're not bad voice acting wise, but it's like they've seen it before. Whereas if a guard, if someone in 2 and 3 sees it, they're like, "Shit! Some guys killed a bunch of people."
And then they got Sean Bean for one of the DLC for one of the games.
Yeah, it was in Hitman 2. He plays a character called Mark Faber, who's well known for being the target of assassinations in the past, yet surviving every single one, coming back from the dead.
Yeah, so it's basically just so they could use an excuse to make fun of the then very regular meme about Sean Bean dying in everything that he starred in.
And they've even done some more celebrity targets. Like most recently, they've had Dimitri Vegas and the most recent one, Conor McGregor.
There we go.
The UFC fighter, where you have to try and kill him while also protecting this wannabe MMA fighter who's a businessman, but he's really crap at fighting.
Alright, another thing that happens is that after you defeat a bunch of bosses, some of their armor set will be available at the Farling Shrine shop. And we were talking about the big hat of the Crystal Sage. You can potentially buy that. An enormous hat that completely obscures the face belongs to twin gurus known as the Crystal Sages. The pair are said to be successor to the great sage Logan, and this big hat is a symbol of her pedigree. So let's actually buy it for fun. This is I have enough souls. Let's see. Improvise fashion soul before we end the part. There you go. How do I look?
Like you're wearing a satellite dish on your head.
It looks like pizza in the making, you know, the one, but it's like actually less the tomato, add the tomato sauce and the mozzarella. Alright, let's level up a bit before ending.
Keep the hat.
Okay. To be fair, the headgear that I had before was not particularly special, so I don't mind. Alright.
And this one's funny.
I can level up only one thing. So I'm gonna level up endurance because I definitely need more stamina. Alright then, so tune in for the next part where we will actually, you know, resume our journey throughout the Cathedral of the Deep and see, oh, what fun things the cult did to their poor victims in there. See ya.
See ya.
Bye.